Hi, this is Robert Colquhoun, Director of International Campaigns.
Por la vida en Colombia está lleno de frutos.
Det slås manke utan sång, ja, es ist nicht mehr so.
People start saying that, if your thoughts fall foul of the popular opinion, that they're somehow criminal.
Mi hija ha decidido no abortar.
Our freedom in a democracy, in our open society, begins with the freedom of speech.
Ante todo, los pilares de 40 días, ¿no? La oración, el ayuno, la yoga.
So sometimes it's just a little thing that we have to do. So
también dignidad, que son creados también por
But
Dios.
beyond what we say, anything we do at 40 Days for Life, anything we say to defend the unborn, we do with love.
Los bebés no tienen que ser abortados de una madre.
40 Days for Life International Podcast.
El podcast de 40 días por la vida internacional.
Hi, this is Robert Colquhoun, Director of International Campaigns for 40 Days for Life, and welcome to another session of the 40 Days for Life International podcast. Please go to 40daysforlifeinternational.com. Like, review, and share this podcast as well. And we'd like to get it out to as many people as possible. I'm really blessed and honored to be with Nayeli Rodriguez from Spain, who's the coordinator of the national leader of 40 Days for Life in Spain. Spain's been an incredible country for 40 Days for Life, and so many things have happened. So many blessings have happened, which we'll hear about. I've been to Spain many times. Nayeli's just got back from World Youth Day in Lisbon, which was a meeting of 1.5 million young people in the Portugal country next door to Spain. But I love Spain personally. It's one of my, there's so much culture, there's so much heritage, there's so much Christian history there. The church has an incredible history, a dramatic 20th century history. But what more pressing issue than the issue of abortion today? And Nayeli has been pioneering a new national effort in Spain, getting a national debate galvanized in the country, traveling around the country, visiting leaders. And now I think we're up to around 25 vigils and campaigns around Spain, despite the national government trying to shut them down. So it's been a fascinating time, similar to the United Kingdom, but with a Spanish context as well. So Nayeli, how are you today? And it's a real privilege and honor to have you on the podcast today.
Hi, Robert. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm great to be here today.
And tell us, how did you first get involved in 40 Days for Life, and when did you first hear about it? What had happened in Spain before you kind of joined the movement?
Well, just before being in 40 Days for Life, I was in a different pro-life activity. I was a sidewalk counselor. So I used to go with other friends to talk with these women that were entering the abortion centers to offer them alternatives. So for me, that was a turning point in my life, because up to that moment, I wasn't really aware what was abortion really about. And it was after listening to them, after listening to those dramatic stories, because at the end, there were stories of, I don't want to have an abortion, but my partner of life is going to leave me if I don't do that, or I have economic issues. And so for me, it was a shock, a real shock, to find this reality. I wasn't aware of it, and I couldn't do nothing on that situation. And I was there for 1 year and a half, more or less. And after that year and a half, I received on the WhatsApp group of that community a video that 40 Days for Life has about promoting the campaign, and promotes something like, since 40 Days for Life exists, more than 100 abortion centers have been closed. So for me, that was kind of a revelation, because at the end, yes, I was in the pro-life movement, but I was a little bit hopeless, because of course, you can see if a mother chooses life, it's great, and it's a party all over the world and heaven. But then you see the other 10 having the abortion in the abortion clinic. So that was really sad for me. And then with that video, I recovered hope, and I understood that at the very end, this is a spiritual battle, and for me as a Catholic, it made sense that at the end, if God is God, He can do anything. He can change anything, even this hard situation. So for me, it made sense. Okay, prayer can change the world. So I contacted Lourdes. I knew they were looking for somebody in Madrid, and well, that's how I started here.
That's awesome. And I've traveled to Spain many times. We had like the World Congress of Families in 2011 in Madrid, and there are other people that tried to get efforts going. I went to Barcelona in 2016, and where the Sagrada Familia is, which they've been building for decades. But prior to you coming along, people had come and people had gone. We had Juan in Malaga, and he'd done a great effort there. But you've really galvanized the whole country, and you've had a lot of humility and a lot of sense of service. You're also an excellent organizer and communicator. So you are absolutely perfect for the role of national leader in Spain. And wow, just look what's happened since coming along. It's kind of you kind of set the country on fire, and it's been absolutely phenomenal to see. Just really inspiring and full of hope, as you say. This is a dark topic. It's emotionally heavy. It's controversial, and it's difficult to sort of realize the context and the pastoral solutions to abortions. So I think that's why 40 Days for Life is so refreshing, because we offer something that, we offer hope. We're there with a positive message. We're there with prayer. There's something that makes an impact, that makes a difference to people's lives. And that's refreshing when, you've got the burden of abortion, the difficulty, the difficult subject that it is. We're there with the solution. We're with positivity, with joy. And you've brought that to life in a really amazing way. And I remember coming to Madrid in 2019 and just seeing the amazing job you're doing in Madrid, and how the vigil was doing incredibly well. Tell us about the situation in Spain, like the cultural situation, how abortion centers operate, what makes Spain unique, and just the cultural landscape and background to pro-life activism, the abortion law, etc.
Yeah, well, Spain is a complex country because they have a lot of regionalism in Spain. So yes, we all speak Spanish, but there are some specific regions that have their own language, they have their own culture, their own pride. And although it is true that in between Catholics, that is less evident, let's say. At the end, Catholics are in communion, the division is not as strong as if you are not a Catholic. But it is true that there are so many differences between the regions. For example, Madrid has a specific context, but the Basque Country in the north, they are really few Catholics. They are super afraid of everything because they had a history of terrorism. In Catalonia, for example, they are more like they want to be independent, and you can see that in the culture. So every region, you can see that there are more similarities in the center part of Spain, of the peninsula, but the rest of the regions are quite different. So actually, one of the key for success to apply 40 Days for Life in Spain was to adapt the movement, not only to Spain, but even to that regions. Knowing that context, adapting that, because before 40 Days for Life was seen like a foreign product, like a foreign movement. I remember when I arrived, it was like, oh no, but that's not going to succeed here in Spain because we're too different to Americans. That is so American, we don't want that. And in general, Catholics, before having this success of 40 Days for Life in Spain, they were like living their faith in private, like always in private, like in silence, just like with this fear of annoying people because of your faith. Yes, Spain has a complex history. They had a civil war not so far in history. So you can actually see those divisions in Spain nowadays, sadly. And between, of course, the right wing, the left wing, the history, heritage, and so on. So it's really complex, and I have actually the advantage that I've been living in Spain for 17 years, so I fully know that situation. But I'm not Spanish. I wasn't born in Spain, so I don't have. I got rid of that complexities. They can see me as an impartial person because I don't have that heritage. So, and the situation of the church, it goes along with this regionalism. So in general, for example, in Madrid, we have it easier because we have a young diocese. We have 3 dioceses in Madrid, for example.
Yeah.
One of them is really young and is full of energy. There are some parishes full of young people. But for example, if you go to the Basque Country, the situation is completely different. You don't have the support of many bishops, or people are scared in general, even inside the church, because of that past that they have. It really depends on the region. In general, I would say that they are important leaders of the church, and Catholics follow them. Like when there's an important leader, we follow them and try to work on that. But it's true that I would say that Catholicism in Spain is waking up little by little, and that is really, really exciting. And well, about the pro-life context, the depenalization of abortion in Spain arrived in 1985. So before, like in the 70s or something like that, a pro-life movement started. However, in 2010, more or less, there was a really big crisis among the pro-life movement that created a lot of division. And weakened the pro-life movement. So when I arrived with 40 Days for Life, and just before, I remember that there was a feeling of hopeless in general, like, okay, this is a battle that we are not going to win. We can just fight for the future, but we cannot change what is already established. That was the general feeling, I would say, of the pro-life movement. And I mean, I think it's understandable, because with human eyes, if you see that Spain has been pioneer in LGBT laws, in abortion laws, in contraception, in euthanasia now, I mean, of course, humanly speaking, yes, it's really difficult. It's really hard to see that. And the pro-life movement at that point when I arrived, it was like, and it still is for some organization, it's like, okay, pro-lifers need to be secular, and just based in action. So when we arrived, but most of them are Catholics. But when we arrived, they were like, oh yes, but we cannot join you because we are secular, and we need to remain secular to attract other people. And it is true that you don't have to be a religious person to be a pro-life, but at least in Spain, the situation is it is really difficult to find a pro-lifer that is not religious. It's kind of difficult because religion is part of Spain. And for me, that was nonsense, no? And that was easy in my case for 40 Days for Life to say, okay, well, I can get rid of that premise, I'm openly Catholic. This is just based in prayer, and well, that has changed, and I think that now pro-lifers are stronger. The pro-life movement is more in communion in general, yes, with the differences and whatever, but there is not such a division as it was before. And also I would say that 40 Years for Life has helped also to help Catholic people to live their faith in public also.
That's absolutely brilliant. And you've mentioned the regionalism in Spain that's just so important. And, 40 Days for Life is a locally organized campaign. So we're not an American movement, and you've emphasized the principle of subsidiarity. You want to do things on the local level. And, without the knowledge of the regional aspects of Spain, of, Barcelona, of the Basque Country, of Madrid, you've helped to just make huge inroads into the country due to your knowledge of Spain and your understanding and sensitivity of how important these things are. So, wow, just absolutely amazing your perspective there of what the situation is like there as well. And, this is a refreshing movement, and, we're bringing the church onto the streets. It's life-giving to the church. It's life-giving to, activism, but also engagement with society. And most people don't believe that we can change abortion laws, but we really can. We can change people one person at a time. And if we can believe we can change the culture, society from the grassroots up, then anything's possible. And we've seen that today. And tell us about young people in Spain as well. You've just been to World Youth Day in Lisbon. And what was that experience like, being with like over 1 million young Catholics from all around the world? I've been to the one in Madrid and the one in Germany before, but tell us about your experience of that and where young people are in Spain.
Yeah, it was, yes, I came back like 3 days ago or something like that. So, and I was before in the one of Madrid, that I've been only in 2 of them. I think it was a nice experience. Actually, I met many pro-life people in there, taking advantage of the moment. And for me, that was beautiful because at the end, it was like the church, like the church in their universal feeling and sense that I could meet friends from Germany, friends from Poland, friends for Croatia, different places that otherwise I would need to take a flight to go and visit them separately. They were all there and with their own charisma, with their own Catholic movement or whatever, and it was nice to see that diversity of the church that enriches, and also even, for example, Paula from Portugal let me stay in her house, and at the end I came back to Madrid with my parish, so it was like I could share that moment with many different friends and people from the church, and my feeling was of family, right? And well, I think it was the World Youth Days a moment to encounter other young people that share your faith. So I think that that goal was achieved in this event. I had the feeling that in this one there was a lot of young people that were just like having fun and that's all, and that's okay. But I think it really it was depending on your attitude on the World Youth Day. For example, if you wanted to live in prayer and so on, you had adoration and prayer activities the whole day in different places, and you could attend to. But if you wanted to listen to music, there were a lot of concerts related to Catholic music, of course. So I think it was interesting, and well, I enjoyed. I had a good time there, and yes, that was my experience. It was really amazing to see the 1.5 million of young people on their knees, in their knees, praying in front of the Lord, right? So that was for me one of the best moments, and also the confession. There were so many confessionaries and people really in the queue. There were people that they waited for 2 hours. I don't know how many confessionaries were, but there were so many of them, maybe 200. I'm not really sure.
Wow, well, I remember going to World Youth Day in Madrid, and there was a big thunderstorm at the closing mass. So it was a bit of a dramatic. It was so hot they had firemen out, sort of watering everybody, and then the thunderstorm came, and all the tents sort of blew away. But tell us a bit about your campaign in Spain now. So basically, a year or two ago, the government brought in some kind of buffer zone law, which did restrict you, but the sort of parameters that law weren't completely clear. And the number of campaigns in Spain actually increased during that time, which is absolutely amazing. Do you want to sort of talk us through that sort of period of when the buffer zone was introduced on the national basis, and then you've got a whole team of lawyers with you as well? And how did you respond to that challenge, and how did you increase the number of campaigns?
Yes, exactly. This buffer zone law was approved, I think, 1 year ago. But before that year, there was a huge media campaign of we are going to forbid prayer in the street. We're praying in front of the abortion centers. There was a huge communication strategy behind. So it was the feeling of everything was of fear, of uncertainty. So it was a real challenge to fight that, because we had that situation before having even the law approved. I mean, that situation of fear, of uncertainty. And once we had the law, we also need to know what to do, right? So at the end, it was easier than we expected. And as you said, just the campaign before the approval of that law, we had a double the number of campaigns. So if we had 11, suddenly from one campaign to another, we had 20. So it was amazing. And for me, it was the proof that, of course, God is behind. I mean, I already knew that, but it's like a reminder, a strong reminder that don't worry, I'm with you. And also, it was, I think, a strong message from Spanish people, because that faith that we thought that was sleeping suddenly became a fighter. And that's amazing, because I'm sure our politicians weren't expecting that. I mean, their strategy, I think, was to create this media strategy, this fear, to avoid participation in our campaigns without moving a finger, you know. And at the end, the response was quite the opposite. A lot of people wanted to lead a campaign, because I think people knew, first of all, the absurdity of this law. I mean, you cannot forbid prayer in the street, that's absurd. And second, okay, so if they are persecuting these people, it's because it's working. And for me, that was the proof that it actually is working. I cannot understand otherwise why a politician would spend so much time in forbidding some people that is praying. You know, it's like there are so many other things to do, and pro-lifers have existed, I mean, for all life. Why persecuting us? Because we are having a real impact in society, and they can see it, because of course they have much more information than we do. And of course, for me and for all the people that was working on this moment, was a challenge, yes, but encouraging. Like, yes, you are going in the right direction. And I think that was the best moment for growth in Spain. And because of that, just as you mentioned, I created a team of lawyers, because in my case, as a national leader, my role was to create security for the local leaders, for volunteers, and ensure that they are not alone in this fight. Because if we are asking them their trust to us, asking them to fight, because we need them at the end, we have to do everything in our hands to protect them. So I created this team of lawyers. They are amazing. They are people absolutely reliable on God. And after the law was approved, we follow like specific protocols that we created based on the recommendation on the lawyers. And I think that the fact that these protocols and instructions and everything was confident and well organized give a lot of security, a lot of confidence to our volunteers, and they join us. Besides they were scared. Of course, there was a lot of people that gave up participating because they were still scared and they wanted to see what would happen to us. And at the end, the proof was that yes, that law was approved, but it was mainly a media strategy. Yes, they changed the words, they changed the message. At the end, they couldn't forbid prayer in the street, and they couldn't do it. So yes, we have suffered persecution. For example, the police usually and still comes to our vigils to try to convince people that it is forbidden to be there, but they cannot do anything. I mean, it's more kind of the dissuasory activity rather than a real activity. And it's true that in the Basque Country, as I said, that is a more complex context. We have had some trials there with some of our volunteers, and our team of lawyers have been defending them. We are still waiting for some processes of some of them, but I think they have it difficult. I mean, I think the government have it difficult. They have seen that our response is fierce instead of fear, and they cannot do anything about it. And right now, that's amazing because before, when I arrived for Tears for Life, nobody talked about abortion. It was like, oh yes, that is a topic of the past. Nothing is going to change about that. And now the media talks about abortion, and they are worried about abortion. Of course, the 40 Years for Life is doing a great impact.
Well, you've helped to galvanize the national debate on abortion in Spain, and that's got to give you a great sense of hope for the future, given what you've witnessed. And people can write what they want in the newspapers, like you can get slammed in the media, but the fact is that you're starting a debate, and that debate goes through the national government, it goes through the national media, it goes in the conversations on the street with your vigil volunteers. That's got to give you a great sense of hope for the future. If you can help galvanize that national debate, wow, that's an incredible achievement, and absolutely amazing.
Yeah, actually, I think it's amazing all what we have seen. Not only that transformation on the media. I remember there was article of a left-wing newspaper that for me like cheered me up a lot. Like the title was like why abortion is not a topic of the past, and I was like, wow. great. Yes, I think that, and also the transformation that I've seen. I mean, I've seen so many new pro-life initiatives that have been inspired in 40 Years for Life, and that we are starting to make more noise and more noise, and I think that all followers of Christ should have hope, because I mean, at the end, we know that Christ is alive. We know that Christ is beyond death. So this is just the battle that is for our times, but actually we know already the result.
And tell us about some of the spiritual blessings that you've experienced. There was a clinic that closed just recently, some of the babies that have been saved, maybe some conversation, lives transformed, the abortion workers. You've got together with doctors as well and healthcare professionals as a coalition too. What have been the best spiritual blessings that you've seen in Spain?
Well, up to now, since 2019, more than 40 babies have been saved. We know that 3 abortion workers quitted their job, all of them nurses from different places, and I think also one of the blessings is that one that I already explained, how the number of campaigns doubled, like just in one click, you know, that was amazing. I mean, that was so amazing that I was like, oh my God, I can, because I'm one of my roles is to train the new leaders, you know. But I was like, oh my God, there are so many new campaigns that I cannot deal with all of them. I cannot train all the new leaders, but it's amazing, you know. And also per campaign, we usually have more or less 3,500 participants, which means more than 15,000 hours of prayer. And well, in the context of Spain, the majority of people are Catholics, so we pray the Rosary. For me, it's like giving 15,000 of roses to Mary, you know, to Virgin Mary. And I mean, how we are not going to change this situation if we are making so happy Virgin Mary, you know, if we are all around the world and all around Spain praying for the same for the same intentions. And well, as I said, I've seen a radical change in the pro-life movement, and that fills me of joy because, as I said, there was division before, there was really few people involved in pro-life movements, and now I can see more and more pro-lifers. I can see more young people, because in the past also, at least for 40 Years for Life, there were like more old people or yes, more, there were not a lot of young people there. And I don't know why here in Spain, other pro-lifers and other people or other Catholics associate 40 Years for Life with a young movement. Actually, they have invited me to speak on behalf of the youth in pro-life events, and that is remarkable because we are for everybody, you know. But it is interesting that young people are taking this battle as theirs in 40 Years for Life. And of course, I have seen so many lives transform. For example, my first year was really shocking for me because the people that, I mean, before I was more in talking to women to avoid abortion. But when I arrived 40 Years for Life, I realized that there was a lot of people that had already an abortion in the past and participated on the campaign to heal and to try to, to connect somehow with that baby. And I didn't know anything about post-abortion syndrome before 40 Years for Life. And thanks to listening to these people, because at the end, when they see that you're an organizer or a coordinator, I don't know why, but they feel the trust on sharing their story with you. And for me, that's a real gift. And I feel really lucky for that trust. And listening to them, listening how praying in our videos are really healing their hearts, or the participation on the Holy Mass, how they find forgiveness little by little.
Yeah,
that's amazing, because I know it's not easy at all to heal that wound, that part. And also, those women that choose life, we make, we are with them in the whole process. We, after 40 Years for Life, we put them in contact with other pro-life associations, but we are always behind. There is a person that asks them how is everything going, that listens to them and so on, and seeing how they are changing their lives, how a baby becomes a mission, gives them sense to their lives, because most of them were broken before. were already broken before. I mean, abortion is at the end just a consequence, not the starting point of anything. Yes, we can see how they start. For example, one of the mothers that were saved more or less recently, she had an abortion before, and she was at the abortion center trying to do her second abortion, but she was so broken because, and in her own words, she said, I wasn't the same before, I wasn't the same after that abortion, and I'm not sure if I want to do it again, but I have no other option. And giving them that support that maybe they don't have them in their families or in their friends, because all the society here in Spain, abortion is something well accepted, with a high rate of acceptance in general. So if you get pregnant and you have no, if you're not married or whatever, people will tell you always to have an abortion. Yeah. So that's been amazing. And also how we are getting well known in schools, for example. This also helps to teenagers in tough situations, and there's so much people that reach us for help when they find one of these situations. So yes, I've seen so many blessings, and I think that's, I mean, being a leader, I think it's not easy for anybody, because there are so many obstacles and many things, and of course many things that you have to reject somehow. I mean, because you have to choose. I mean, you choose Christ. I mean, you're happy for doing that, but and however, seeing all these blessings for me is like the fuel, you know, like that's why I keep doing this. That's why I believe in this, because I know God is here, and I feel so blessed for being chosen by Him to fight this battle. And I think everybody in the movement should know that God chose you, you know, for this battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you mentioned there, you know, about the rosaries going and Mary hearing the rosaries, like the whole point of the campaign is prayer and God. And ultimately, you know, it's not something on human terms. This is impossible to end abortion. But, you know, with God, all things are impossible. And the spiritual dimension of this campaign is why we've seen the results that we've seen. You know, what you've mentioned is just absolutely incredible. On this call, you know, a national debate started, 40 babies saved, these incredible stories of post-abortion healing, of, you know, this is what abortion is all about, you know, hearts and minds. It's a movement. It's changing people's lives. It's transforming their lives. It's bringing hope. It's bringing holiness, and it's inviting people of God to get out there and make a difference. And when you do that, then, you know, all hell breaks loose and we see such incredible results. Tell us about the clinic that closed. There was a clinic that closed, wasn't there? An abortion center that closed in Spain, I believe, during the last campaign, and what happened in that story.
Yes, in Zaragoza, they have 2 abortion centers. One of them closed. We are still waiting to see if it's a definite permanent closing or not. But yes, we were in a campaign. I was actually with Lourdes traveling to different cities when I suddenly received a message from this leader in Zaragoza. And he told me, okay, the abortion center is closed. They have been closed for the whole week. We don't understand anything. And well, hopefully they will close permanently. Here in Spain, I forgot to explain, 80% of the abortions are performed in private centers. So this might change because we have had a new reform law, but up to now, 80% of them are done in private centers, but funded by the state. So it's really easy to know where abortions are performed, because these centers are fully specialized on that. So yes, hopefully this center will be closed forever. Let's keep praying for that.
I hope so. And you've got a national conference going. I came to it in September in Madrid last year. Managed to go to a bullfight before coming to the conference. It was a brilliant event with 100 people from all around the country attending, and you're doing the same conference this September as well. I guess that's for leaders and for volunteers in Spain. What's that experience been like, organising a national conference, and what blessings has that brought to your campaign?
Yeah, the title of this year is a quote from Acts that is, you shall be my witnesses. So last year was the first conference, the national conference that we did, and the topic was, of course, centered on the persecution. This year is different because we think, yes, we are still facing persecution, but it's not the same situation. We already know what to do. This one, the goal is to encourage leaders to be Christ witnesses, to keep fighting for truth, to keep fighting for Christ, and do not hesitate on that path. So we are still preparing everything. This will take place on mid-September, more or less, after holidays. And the goal of these conferences is always to create community in 40 Days for Life, because at the end, of course, if each of us are in a different city, sometimes it's kind of complicated to create that community. Also, create collaboration among cities. There are some really proactive leaders that have great ideas, and those ideas can be made real with other leaders. So that collaboration is also really good to be promoted, and also to boost motivation, because at the end, as I said, being a leader is not easy. So you have to be fully motivated on doing that. And my role as national leader is to keep the locals motivated on that. This, as you will explain, is just open to leaders and teams. It's not an open event, and that's why the talks are more related to leadership or the knowledge of 40 Days for Life and so on. We will have the presence of some international leaders like you, for example, like Tomislav. And also, it was really interesting to invite Christ witnesses, like, for example, Monsignor José Ignacio Monilla, that is a bishop of the Bishop of Alicante here in Spain. He's not only the Bishop of Alicante, he was the Bishop of a city in the Basque Country in the past, but he's also a great speaker. He has a lot of presence in social media, and also he has a radio podcast. So a lot of people follows him, and he is full of wisdom. You know, he's one of those persons that you listen to him and he's full of wisdom. And hopefully we will have also Isabel Bogan with us from the UK, and she's also a great witness of Christ, I think. And we will have a talk talking about Isabel the Catholic, that was a Spanish queen in the past here in Spain. She was an excellent queen. Some people say that she's a saint. And this will be explained by Father Gabriel Calvo, that it's a kind of priest that is also an influencer. So we want our leaders to be inspired by these witnesses. And we also will have a talk regarding the European Union, how abortion is exactly how abortion is now on debate in the European Union. I think the European Union is also scared of us and the pro-lifers, how it's growing in the different countries. And also we will share some news, like some projects that are going on, and about the international websites and so on.
That's absolutely brilliant, and I love going to pro-life conferences. The camaraderie, the sense of joy that you have among pro-lifers there, and you've really captivated that. If you're having talks on Spanish history, don't have one on the Spanish Armada between England and Spain. We've usually been at war between most of our European countries here in the UK. But you mentioned earlier how Spain is very regional, and I think your events, you bring together all the different parts of the country, and everyone's united on this topic, and to bring together that passion and to channel that passion, to foster leadership among the leaders, to cultivate and inspire people. This is what's really wonderful and inspiring, and that is great. And you've been to a lot of international conferences as well. Tell us a little bit about some of your travels. You've been to Croatia. You've seen the great work they're doing there. You've been to Germany, to Poland. You've also been to the Mexico conference. Where have you seen inspiration with other pro-life conferences and seeing 40 Days for Life in other contexts in other countries around the world?
Yes, actually, I think I've been. I've learned different things from each of them. Besides the talks, of course. But for example, my first one, I think it was the one of Germany, of single filling. I think that was the first. Well, at that point, I could meet so many national leaders from many places. And it was great because, it was the first point of contact, and to see, because it's not the same to know that they exist and just be connected, It was different. You need to have that face-to-face, I think, first to get to know a little bit better. Then I also been in Mexico, as you well said. Well, that conference is amazing because there's a huge. It's huge. You can see the passion of the Latin Americans. They're full of joy, full of Christ, a lot of people, and with that, I don't know how to explain that Latin personality, like so characteristic from people. And well, it was really interesting because in that conference, I was invited to give a talk with Laura as well about the prosecution and the laws in Spain. And it was interesting to see that there was a lot of Latin America people that was following Spain, like, okay, what are you going to do in this context of persecution? Because they are aware that afterwards all that will arrive to Latin America. Spain, sadly, is a country that still has an influence, a negative influence in Latin America for abortion, feminism, and LGBT and all those things. So and it was also really happy to see, especially Mexicans are happy to see that I'm the national leader in Spain because I'm Mexican, So they were really, there was a huge connection there.
Yeah.
Then
they party till 4 a.m, don't they? They know how to party in the Latin American conferences. So we need to get the Europeans a little bit more party orientated.
Yeah. And yes, and people is like always sharing. They always want to share a piece of their country to you. People is really patriot in Latin America, and they are super nice people. They give you they are super effective. Then I also was in the Krakow conference, and that was amazing. And for me, at that point, I had the feeling that I was in family, There were some leaders that I already met them in Germany, but just one weekend, and that's all. But however, arriving at Krakow, I don't know, it's like that feeling of communion, that feeling of family, like this is my place, like I understand you. It's like we don't really need full knowledge of each other to know that we are like in the same place, So something like that. That was really beautiful. I've been also in Croatia. I was invited to the national conference there to give a talk also on the situation of Spain, and that was actually the second time I was in Croatia. The first time was on holidays, but I had the opportunity to meet the team there, And well, Croatia is amazing. I mean, they are inspiring people. The team, the national team, is a family. They are not alone at all. They are a family, and they actually had a huge impact in me, and many of the initiatives that I've been running in Spain are inspired on Croatia. And I've also been in Colombia, in Bogota, for one of those international conferences. It was also amazing as well. I met the leader of Salvador, that she's great also. And also in Portugal, I was in the pro-life march with Lourdes. So I also had a little bit of context about that.
Wow. And when you went to Croatia, you weren't, my understanding is that was still quite early days for you in Spain. You didn't have such a substantial national campaign at that point. So you probably took a lot of inspiration from Croatia. Wow, this is what's going on in Croatia. And you came back to Spain, and then you had that big bumper year of doubling the number of campaigns and so forth. So was that, you kind of brought the love back from Croatia, and did that sort of amplify your vision of what was possible in Spain?
Exactly. That was that was the feeling. And then also, this last campaign, I had the opportunity to travel with Lourdes, visiting, that was
the whole
crazy.
Country.
Yes, 16 cities in 7 days. I think it was in 7 days or something like that. It was crazy.
Wow.
With a baby, with Lourdes' baby.
With a baby, yeah.
It was crazy. I finished super tired, but full of joy, because I realized that, I mean, there were a lot of local leaders that I've already met, for example, in the national conference, but it's not the same visiting the place and really getting knowledge of the real situation that they are facing. And of course, they were super happy to have Lourdes visiting them, because I think 40 Days for Life, one of the greatest things that we have is that you don't feel alone in any moment, because this outreach, this sense of community helps you to not feel alone. Sometimes the fight is really difficult in your place, but with this type of visits, with this type of conference, you can share that family sense and that faith communion with other people all around the world.
Great. It's really fantastic. And just amazing how many places you've been to. That's just, so many conferences, and in such a short place of time, and to go all around the country in 2 weeks to visit pretty much every, 14 cities or so in 9 days. I mean, that's just absolutely incredible. And it's like having a kind of year's experience in 2 weeks. Tell us, how do you track and measure your campaigns, and tell us a little bit about the work you've done with medical professionals, kind of getting doctors out for life too.
Well, here in Spain, I mean, if somebody wants to participate, we have a website, and they choose the vigil hour that they want to pray and so on. So after the campaign ends, I can download a kind of report, or the data of all the participants for the cities and so on. So what I do is actually calculate an average per city of the vigil participation, and see if they could complete the minimum of hours of each city. And also I calculate a proportion between the participation that we had, the population that we have in that city, and the percentage of Catholics that we have in that place. So based on that calculations, I can know if a city was okay, or if it's weak or not. And for those, I mean, afterwards, I have a meeting with the local leaders and try to tell them, okay, here, these were your results, you can improve on this, or you are super strong, or whatever, right? So that is one of the measures of success. And also, I register like the presence that we have in the media, in each campaign, and also that it's huge. I mean, not only because of our insistence on calling the media, but also because they talk about abortion. That and also the milestones or the events that other pro-lifers do or that our politicians do. So you can see I actually have a timeline of since 2019 how the first year was super calm and suddenly everything started to have a revolution, you know. So I would say that this success is not only on my opinion on how I can see the blessings that I do, but also in objective numbers and objective results. And yes, about medical professionals, here in Spain, the last reform of the abortion law directly touches the medical professionals. They created a list where objectors need to register themselves beforehand. So for abortion and for euthanasia. And also this reform changes the table of contents that a medical student does at university to try to distort, because the reality is that right now abortion practitioners are old and it's not really easy to find a new generation for that. So that's why they are implementing all these changes. So for this reason, I mean, my sister is a doctor. I have friends that are doctors, so I'm really sensitive to this reality for them. I know that at the end they are the ones who face to this reality in their profession, and it's really hard. So we implemented holy masses dedicated to the medical professionals. These are fully dedicated to them. We invite testimonials of medical professionals and try to find the support of the dioceses. And of course, the intention, the petitions in the Holy Mass are everything related to them. They receive a specific prayer, and we pray specifically to the intercession of Jerome Legion. And we also pray, I don't know how to say it in English, a novena. We pray 9 days before the Holy Mass to Jerome Legion. Exactly, Jerome Legion was a pro-life genetist and doctor. So, and actually they thanked us a lot. They are kind of shy, and they are actually, I found many humble doctors. Scared doctors as well with these situations, but they are really thankful because they feel alone, and with this they really need that support of the church, I would say.
And that's amazing. And Jerome Lejeune is not a saint yet, but he's probably is he on the pathway to canonization, or there must be a cause, or there I imagine some French people must be pushing for that. So most definitely. Well, it's really beautiful hearing what you're doing for medical professionals and the sensitivity that you have, that you know what an important issue this is for them. This is their career. This is a conscience issue. This might be an issue in the workplace. It's sort of a difficult minefield for them to navigate, and then you've actually brought sort of masses and testimonies and pastoral support. That's really incredible. I've heard the same thing happening in Romania too. And what message do you have for 40 Days for Life leaders and volunteers? What message do you have for our leaders and volunteers? What do you want to say to them? It's been hugely inspiring hearing your testimony and interview today. Let's sort of closing idea that you'd like to share with the leaders.
Yes, I would like to remind that we are in the best time ever, because there is much to do, you know. So there is so much to do, and God chose you to live this time, and there is a reason behind of that. God trusts you to defend His innocent children. And well, I think this is our personal battle also, to win heaven by just doing something super easy, that is praying. I mean, I think God is a merciful Father, and so merciful that He's only asking you a little bit of your time, and humble, and being humble to pray for Him to do the tough work, you know. So it's great. This is the best deal ever. So ever. So we cannot waste that opportunity. And especially to young people, I would remind them that you are the present and you're the future. So you are the hope, and we really rely on you. I mean, there is a specific role for you in this battle. So please become the pro-life generation.
Nayeli, it's been so inspiring speaking with you today. You've done incredible work in Spain. We're so proud of you. We value and appreciate you so much. Not only getting a national movement going in Spain, but hearing the intricacies of the experiences you've had so far. And you just started in 2019, didn't you? So that was the first campaign. So literally, there's like four years in. What you've achieved already has been absolutely remarkable. May God bless all the work that you're doing in Spain. Looking forward to the national conference there, but also what God is going to do, through you in coming years. It's been such an honor and blessing speaking with you today. You're a remarkable young person, and we really value and appreciate the work you've done. I'm sure this interview will be an inspiration for many of the viewers. Go to 40daysforlifeinternational.com, like, review, comment, share this interview with others, and see the other interviews that we've done. We're getting more and more interviews on our podcasts up and running at this time. But Nayeli, thank you so much indeed. May God bless you. And we look forward to seeing you viewers next time. Thank you very much indeed.
No te pierdas los podcasts de 40 días por la vida internacional con entrevistas, reportajes y testimonios de todo el mundo.
Don't miss our podcasts with interviews, news, and reports from around the world.